Hi church, happy Friday. It's Pastors Jen and Jacob with today's digital devotion. Before we get into it, we wanted to say we hope that you come to church on Sunday. We always hope you come to church on Sunday, but this Sunday in particular is special to us because our daughter Clementine is going to be baptized, and we have a special service so that Jacob and I can just be mom and dad for that part of the service. And so we have some really special guest preachers lined up, as well as some clergy from our own congregation who are going to be baptizing Clementine. So we hope that you can join us. There'll be a little reception after the worship service as well. So as you know, our current sermon series is about the parables of Jesus, which are stories that Jesus told, which the word parable comes from the idea of holding two things side by side in comparison. And Jesus does this in really interesting, complex ways so that you can hear the same parable over and over, and depending on what stage of your life you're in or how you're feeling emotionally or where you're at spiritually, you hear different things, you learn different lessons, and you sometimes find yourself in a different role that you relate to in the story when you hear it in a different time of your life. So we're really enjoying it. We hope you're really enjoying it too. And it had us thinking about the art of storytelling and the power of stories in our lives. Jacob and I were both saying that we each have stories that were passed down to us in oral traditions in our own families that have really shaped who we are. And I bet you have similar stories in your family. So for me, the story of my mother's family as immigrants. So my mom was born in the middle of the Korean War as her family was traveling further south away from the violence. And her whole story of survival, and of course the story of her coming alone to America when she was 16, that story of immigration, the story of perseverance, the story of seeking dreams, and just having a lot of courage really shapes who I am and who I aspire to be. So I wonder what stories have been passed down in your family, or maybe there's stories that you've read about in literature that have shaped you, stories in the Bible that have really been meaningful to you and continue to speak to you today. We would love to hear from you about what stories have shaped and continue to shape your life. So we invite you to put those in the comments if you're watching this on YouTube.
Yeah, absolutely. Please comment and share with us some story in your life. It could be a work of fiction or just a story that your family has passed down, that has shaped you and that has created you into who you are. And that's so great that your family has that story to be able to share with each other verbally, to pass down to new generations, and not to do the Sunday school cop-out answer where everything is Jesus. But I think as preachers, we're always imagining the ways in which the stories of Scripture, the stories of Jesus, are shaping us and changing lives. And that's why the Bible's often referred to as the greatest story ever told, or that Jesus himself is known as one of his titles, the great storyteller. And that's why we're doing this series on the parables, is that this was oral tradition. What we think of as Scripture wasn't written down until so much after the events that are told take place, because people would gather in community and they would share these stories together. They'd share them at mealtime. They'd share them when they were partying and having a good time after dinner. They would share them when they were gathered with their families, when they were out with their friends, when they were traveling along the road. These were the stories that they would tell, and these stories have shaped so many lives through the ages. And so that's what we're about on Sundays, is just telling stories to one another. And so we'll continue to tell that story week after week for the rest of time, including this coming Sunday. So we hope that we can see you in worship.
Yeah. All right. We'll see you there.